All right. Cool. Everyone can see that?
Yep.
Cool.
Got it. And I'm gonna mute myself. Okay, so when you're ready to get started, you just go ahead.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Sounds good. I am Jon Dye. I am currently student teaching at Boone Elementary in a second grade Ames class in Houston, Texas. And this is my capstone project. A little overview of what we're going to see today is our 3 pieces of evidence to show my competency. My first piece of evidence or understanding competency is a lesson plan from my first practicum, which was a reading lesson. The second piece of evidence you will see, or becoming fully aware of competency, is an assessment project with a kindergarten student from Human Elementary during math block. And my third piece of evidence, or achieving competency, was obtained when I was down here student teaching in a gifted and talented Ames classroom. So here you can see my competency statement. I am competent at differentiating instruction in different forms of assessment in order to accommodate the learning needs of my students. I thought this fell into the theme of teaching subject matter, because as we're teaching, we have to make sure we get the lower and higher level thinkers, being able to have them succeed in the classroom. Some guiding questions that I thought fit my competency were to: how should subject matter be organized to enable students to learn it most effectively? How can different subject matter be integrated effectively? And how do students learn within a particular subject matter? So then we'll go into my first piece of evidence. And as I said, my first piece of evidence or understanding competency was my first lesson plan I had at the university. And as you can see within the picture or my lesson plan, there is no part that is for differentiation. This lesson was a 4 corners reading activity, as you can see in the lower left or lower right hand corner. In that activity, they were to talk about context clues, the purpose of rereading, find the theme of the story, and they had to do some vocabulary within those 4 corners as well. As I said, there was no differentiation in this lesson plan, as I was not very familiar with differentiation at that time, and there weren't any ways I saw. My CT didn't say anything about differentiation, and so it was hard for me to even provide any if I was aware of it at that time. The second piece of evidence in my competency is becoming fully aware of competency came from my math block. And this was an assessment project we had. To first start out, the students and I in my class, we were given 4 polygons, and we had to make it into one polygon that could fit into a bathroom, kind of like a landscaping assignment. And we had to find every different way we could do that. And after we did that portion of the assignment, we were then asked to bring it to our practicum classroom. And there I was in a kindergarten classroom at Human Elementary, and we knew that kindergartners wouldn't be able to do the same assignment. So we focused it more and differentiated it on spatial reasoning. So we put different shapes onto the white pieces of paper. We had a L shape, we had a lowercase t and an uppercase t. And the objective for the students was to use the least amount of Legos they could to fill up that space. So as you can see on the right-hand picture, we have 3 Legos that the student put down. They put one large square purple Lego and 2 long rectangular Legos. And here we could see that our assessment or our differentiating worked because they were able to pass our assessment. Moving into the third piece of evidence, and this is where I believe I achieved competency. This came down here in my student teaching, where I am teaching a 2nd grade Ames class, which is what they call their gifted and talented students or classrooms. Here they have different projects they can do. So we follow all the state standards regularly, but we also provide different projects that other students in 2nd grade don't do. So the first one we see is there's an Envisions project. And in this Envisions project, this is when they do a party planning activity. It's research based, so the students do it all on their own. All that the teacher and I do is just read the directions to them, kind of explain what they have to do. But other than that, they have to do everything else on their own. And with that, they have to pick a party type. They have to find budgets for their food, drink, and materials they will need for the party. They have to create menus and agendas for who's ever coming to the party so they know what they're going to do. They have to find a location for the party. They also have to create their own party game and provide materials for it and with instructions. So like I said, they create their own game, and like they provide their instructions, and then they present all of their gatherings to a panel, usually most of the Ames teachers and their parents, and they get to have their party with all their students after the little showcase. After that, there is a STEM project, and with this STEM project, you can see it was with bridges. Here, they were shown bridge designs, and they were asked to use 300 popsicle sticks and build the best bridge they thought they could do, and they were only given 1 bottle of glue to make it more challenging. So they became more engineers themselves, and then they were able to take their bridges they completed to a contest at another school and see which bridge could withstand the most weight. Our students, our highest group, got 60 pounds, which is a fair amount, I believe, for 2nd graders who aren't as familiar with engineering and all the mechanics to that as yet. Then we go into our final part of our evidence 3 in my Ames classroom, and this was a book club, and as I said, we do this during reading, and we follow all the state standards, but then my teacher throws in a different portion where they get on a website, they read a certain book depending on their grade reading level, as most of our students are either in upper 3rd grade or low 4th grade reading level right now. And they have to answer questions about vocabulary, context clues, character feelings, and they have to all write this out onto a website that my teacher provides the questions to. And with that, they also have to have discussions with other students. So we ask them to say if they agree with something or disagree, and they have to provide evidence as to why they don't agree or disagree. And here we can see that it provides a much higher level thinking, as collaboration and discussions always provide higher level thinking. And we can see the higher level thinking in both the STEM project and in the Envisions project. So Going on to my synthesis, I believe it was that they were all different levels of thinking. You should provide different levels of thinking in all content areas. So in each subject, we can, or for instance, like math, we can do a lot of group work that provides higher level thinking and more collaboration. Providing manipulatives can help both higher and lower level students, and providing different strategies. So we're not just confound to one. They can, if they don't like one strategy, they can use another that they think works better for them and they understand it better. In writing, we see a lot of research-based and independent work. Reading, we focus on open-ended questions for higher level students, or for lower level students, we can have easier worksheets for them. And in my class, we also used rigorous more text and provided more choice for the students. And then for science and social studies, we provide research and more hands-on activities individually and in groups. As I said, collaboration really helps with the higher level thinking. I also said for my synthesis, organizing higher level thinking will provide students with more independence rather than lower level thinking. With your higher level students, they can be given a project and they can do it without question. They don't need to come up and ask, what do we do now? As in lower level thinking, that's when you have more raised hands. You have to walk them through it more. And you also have to, or in level or lower level thinkings, you provide more small groups rather than you have to in higher level thinking with higher level thinking students. So my reflection for this, as what I've learned, is how important it is to provide differentiation in all content areas. Some students might be advanced in math, but they might be lower in reading. So you always have to find areas where you can make sure they grow. I also learned different ways to have instructional activities to provide different thinking. So as I said, using collaborative group work, using manipulatives, doing more hands-on activities will always help different levels of students. And I also learned how manipulatives can help differentiate instruction. What I believe I still need to work on is how to fully accommodate everyone's needs during instruction, especially lower level students, since I didn't have the chance to see that as much in my student teaching. I just dealt with more higher level thinkers. I need to better prepare myself so I know how to advance lower levels and make sure they see growth and everyone sees growth. So in the future, I am going to be a fifth grade math teacher down in Houston at Budwig Intermediate. And some strategies that I want to use in my classroom to fully accommodate my students' needs and so they see growth in themselves. I want to do small group lessons rather than whole group lecture so we get more in depth and we can have better conversations. I also want another group to be working on iReady, which is a math application that the A-Leaf district uses down here to help them see growth in the students, to see how their progress is going. And then the other group of students would be working on homework and or a project. So that project would always be higher levels so we can provide more higher level thinking for them. In closing, I just wanted to go by my competency statement again. And the competency statement was that I am competent at differentiating instruction and different forms of assessment in order to accommodate the learning needs of my students. And the pieces of evidence that I used to show my competency was my artifact 1, which was the first lesson plan that I ever did, where we saw no differentiation. The second artifact was the assessment project from MathBlog, where I went from a high level to a low level. There was differentiation, but it wasn't differentiation in the classroom where I had to see higher and lower level thinkers or students and differentiate that way. And then my third artifact was student teaching in an Ames classroom down here in Houston, where there was differentiation through all contents and it met the needs of all levels. And that was the end. And if there are any questions.
Any questions, Tiffany?
I don't think so. Congratulations on your job placement. That's really exciting.
Thank you.
Actually, I do have one. Did you develop the STEM project, or was that something you used a curricular resource for?
The STEM project is one that our Ames coordinator at our school developed for us. It was a district-wide project ranging from elementary all the way to high school.
Wow, sounds really interesting.
Mm-hmm. John, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to tell you that, you're talking about small groups as part of differentiation. That's also something that's really important with multilingual learners, to be able to work in small group contexts like that. And so, especially down in Houston, I'm sure you're going to have, they may not be identified as English learning, but they will certainly be multilingual.
Yes.
So yeah, keep that in mind too, because that's a really powerful strategy for those folks.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to mute us, and then you can stop sharing your screen, and